Hi guys, this is the first video I tried to film after we hooked my camera to the computer to see if I could just record from there. It doesn't look too bad in this view right now. There is still some blurring on the layers, so it's still a work in progress. What you can see here is another drawing I did, unfortunately using the watercolor backgrounds that I've still not figured out. It's a background, but it's on top of the artwork. It has to be the very top layer, and it's like a custom one that I purchased because I was like, oh, that's cool, that's neat. Well, it's given me some trouble. So the original work I added in, and this was me trying to see if I could just recreate the drawing and see how that would look. So before we got the camera set up, I had added some layers. I had already started. I have my line art on the top layer, and then I'm working on several layers underneath it. I have the base orange on one layer. I have the base yellow on one layer, and then the base green on one layer. And I'm just taking the original and lowering the opacity, putting the layer on multiply. That way I can see it, but it's not completely taking over. And this is me learning how to use the reference. You can insert a reference photo. I think I'm just trying to see if this works better. And you can kind of just scoot it over to the side, and that is located, I believe, under the toolbar. It says reference. So what I'm going to do now is go to my base yellow, and I'm just going to add a new layer. I am going to hold down and select clipping mask. And this is where I'm going to pick a lighter shade of my yellow using the color wheel, just so I can start putting in some highlights. When you're on your layer screen, you can switch it to add, and it will also help lighten. I'm just going to like a watercolor glaze brush, and that's definitely not the size I want. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger and just go through and put in some highlights. And I don't really have a light source, so I'm just playing, making it up as I go, and I'm using my original drawing for a reference. I'm just going to speed this up some. It's just me going through, highlighting each flower, the stems, just adding um, some depth and some substance to the piece. So here I'm just removing my original image. Well, I'm turning off the layer so you won't be able to see it. And I'm going down to my base layer. I am going, and my clipped mask, I am playing with opacity, and I'm going to make it an add layer. And as you can see on the screen, it almost made it look neon. Now I'm just gonna go up to the orange layer and basically do the same thing as I did on the yellow layer. I'm just gonna create a new layer above the base layer, add a clipping mask, bring in a lighter shade of the orange, and just try to add some highlights. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this guy back up. I also made that an add layer as well, guys. Alright guys, I'm just adding once again another layer. I'm going to pick a darker shade of orange and I'm just pressing my finger holding down until the color dropper shows up and then I can pick my color that I want. And I'm just going through and I'm using a watercolor brush for most of these just because I like the style. So you'll play with it and see what you like best. And I'm going through different brushes and just seeing if I like the effects that they make. And I'm just trying to slowly add in color. With watercolor, a lot of time you'll work from light to dark. So I'm trying to remember to keep that in mind. And I'm just going back to the yellow base layer, adding another layer in that area, and I'm going and doing the same thing I just did on the orange. Pick my base yellow color, change to a darker color. Sometimes you can just do a little further on the gradient, that way your color doesn't get muddy. And I'm just going through and putting in where I think some shadows might be in the arrangement. And luckily we are working with an app, not real watercolor, because I've decided I needed to lift out basically some of the color in my flowers. So like a normal watercolor, you would kind of get your brush wet with no color and kind of try to seep some of the color back into the brush, if that makes sense. Like if you were using a paper towel, how it like soaks up the liquid. So that's just what I'm going through here and doing with this lighter brush. Definitely want to experiment with your brushes, guys. I'm going to a smaller brush with a that's heavier pigmented, and I'm just uh, filling in the dark stems. And did you see all those layers? Guys, definitely try to name your layers because if not, it can turn into a big mess. As you can see, I still didn't name my layers. This is as much of a reminder for me as it is for you. Now, this is probably my favorite part of using the watercolor brushes. It's also my favorite part of watercolor doing it in real life. So I'm going down to the orange layer, selecting, actually I think I created a new layer and so I'm not exactly sure what I was doing. However, I am using an effects watercolor brush. Sorry about this glare guys, like I said I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing here, so I do apologize. I can only get better, right? Anyways, I'm adding, just going in and adding texture effects with my the brush that I selected. So yeah, this is the fun part, guys. Have fun, go crazy. It just adds excitement and it just makes your, in my opinion, it makes your artwork or your pictures just more fun to look at, more engaging. But of course, that's all depends on what you like to do. Now what you're going to see me doing is pinching some of the layers together. I'm trying to make this less chaotic. So I'm just taking my fingers. Sometimes it's a struggle and you're just going to pinch them together. So I'm just zooming in on my artwork, and I was just like, oh, these black lines are pretty bold. They're pretty pronounced. Um, let's see if we can take it down. So I was just lowering the opacity. You'll see me walk through and play with some different layers just to see what techniques they do and how they make the art look. So this is pretty much me playing, just seeing if anything catches my eye or makes the piece stand out more, which don't believe I liked any of them, and I believe I go back to the original line art, the original opacity of the line art. Now in this next clip, I'm going to put a white background on my flower. I deleted the watercolor texture background that I used because once again I'm having a hard time getting those off, and I'm moving some of my layers around trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I'm just using my three fingers to swipe down, copy, and paste to uh, insert a new layer with my artwork on it. I'm going over to adjustments, um, and I'm going to go to Gaussian blur, and I'm just going to move it across with my Apple pencil until it gets kind of fuzzy. Then I'm going to hit my selection tool, make sure automatic is selected, touch the screen, and then I'm just sliding back and forth a little bit, trying to create a little bit of a border. And I'm going to hit invert. And at this point, I'm going to create a new layer. So I'm going to go to new, I'm going to select the color white, and I'm going to fill layer, and that's going to give, turn everything white. And then I'm going to get rid of the blur. I don't know what I'm doing here. What I should be doing is getting rid of my blurred image and putting this white background under my inserted image. It looks like I missed a step and accidentally got rid of my picture layer, so now I'm going back through all the steps. So what you should do is copy everything on your layer, paste it, blur your layer, create a background with the select tool, invert, and you should end up with an inserted image and a blurred image. Then go create a new layer and fill it with the color white. So you'll hit the color dial, select white, and then choose fill layer on your layers bar. And I didn't quite make my background or my white border big enough. That's what you'll see right there in the photograph or in the video. So this is me going back and forth a few steps and just getting it where it's the correct ratio, so it'll do what it wants. So you may have to play with it a little bit. As you can see, I did. I didn't pay that much attention when I inverted and selected the border that some of my outline was uh, chopped off. And I don't know if you've noticed as well, but I inadvertently left a yellow circle around the entire sticker. I was playing with whether I wanted to cut it out, the sticker out as an oval, or whether I wanted to do freeform and go around the flowers. And then it was a light yellow, so I completely forgot about it. So I just have to go in and remove that as well. Alright, now that I finally, looks like I've got that border removed. Oh, no, just kidding, still there. I went ahead and inserted my flowers on the white backing,
and I'm going through, checking on merging down, getting rid of some of my layers, honestly trying to find this yellow circle so I can get rid of it. And I'm kind of playing around because I don't know if I like the white border or not. What I would really like to do is try to do a transparent sticker with this, make it a little bit see-through and see how that looks. So kind of with a white border, that kind of cramps that style. So I'm playing with it, going in. I actually didn't end up using this design. I actually went with my previous design that was still on the watercolor paper, and I just ended up trimming it down and using it instead. I'm still waiting on the proof to get back, so we will see how it goes. But as you guys can see, it is a learning process, so it's not perfect. You will make mistakes. Just keep working with it, and the more you practice, the better you'll get, the more you'll learn. So just practice as much as possible.
It took way too long to get this yellow border off of this image, you guys. I hunted and hunted, and I don't even remember. This is a few days ago when I did this drawing, so I don't even remember where it was or why I had such a hard time finding it. Um, Finally found it, and then stopped, stared, looked at it a little while, and contemplated, stared some more, changed it a little more, and there it went. There it goes. I exported it and saved it, guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye.